Fanatics View, we are here with Adam Smith of Sky Sports, traveling from the UK over to Los Angeles, California. Adam, we appreciate your time. Obviously, we're here for Spence Porter. How do you feel about this fight? I know it's we just talked briefly about Kell Brook. What are your thoughts on this particular fight? And also, I'm curious, does Spence have a fairly large profile in the UK right now?
I mean, both Sean Porter and Errol Spence are known to the UK fight fans because of what happened with Kell Brook. Obviously, Kell won his world title over in Carson a few years back. It was his great night, and Sean Porter we'd followed before that, so we knew Sean pretty well. And then obviously he lost his title to Errol Spence in Sheffield at Bramall Lane, big open air show, Sky Sports box office. George Groves won his world title finally that night as well. And so we worked quite a lot with Errol Spence to build up. Actually, Sean was over for the fight, so you know, it was great to see him. So yeah, we've got a lot of connection with both Sean. We've covered a lot of Sean Porter fights over the years, and with Errol Spence. And yeah, many of us believe Errol Spence could become the next big superstar, but obviously Sean Porter, WBC champion, tough as they come, competitive, been at top level for so long. So it's a fascinating fight, and you know, can Spence become the first man possibly to stop Porter? Will Porter actually be better than Spence anticipates and give him a really, really hard night? I think it's a great fight and a great bill, and that's why I'm here.
And great answer. And Eddie also has a big fight coming up here in LA with the YouTubers and Billy Joe Saunders and Devin Haney again. What have your thoughts been on just that situation? Do you think it's a brilliant chess move, or is it disrespecting boxing? You know, there's a lot of many opinions, right?
There's a lot of debate about what it is, and I can see both sides. And I'll tell you a story that I've got 3 children, and my son, who was probably 11 at the time, about a year and a half ago, when Lawrence Sokoli and Isaac Chamberlain were fighting in quite a big fight at the O2. And I asked him in the morning, I said, who wins the fight, Oscar? And he said, well, KSI wins. And I said, sorry? He said, KSI wins. I meant, what, Sokoli or Chamberlain? He went, no, KSI's fighting tonight. And he was fighting at the Copper Box that night. Then he went to fight Logan Paul in Manchester. And of course, you know, being around now, I got young kids and YouTubers. My daughter, my 8-year-old daughter's got her own YouTube channel. It's a different world, and you know, they're huge in that world. And I think Eddie once said he'd never ever touch it, the KSI Logan Paul fight. Well, obviously it is business. I think it is a sort of rabbit out the hat. It's a brilliant move, and it's entertainment. People want to be entertained. We did the Mayweather-McGregor fight. A lot of people criticized that. We never thought really that Conor McGregor was going to win that fight, but he provided enormous amounts of theatre. A lot of Irish ran over believing in their man. We had a great show. It was a wonderful spectacle, and I think that KSI and Logan Paul will be a lot of fun. I think it's obviously 2 novices fighting, so you've got to treat that in one way, but it's entertainment. If people are willing to tune in, they want to see it, that's what you've got to deliver. I like the fact that Billy Joe and Devin Haney and maybe others are going to be on that card at the Staples Center, because it's a chance for that demographic, the demographic of the YouTubers, to see the top fighters. You know, Devin was at Sky a couple of days ago. He's been in London. He did a big workout, I hear, back home. And he said it was a fantastic turnout. He's one of the stars of the future, in my opinion. I love Billy Joe Saunders. I think he's had his issues, but I think naturally he's one of the greatest fighters we've got. You know, let's look at them as well as Logan Paul and KSI. But one of the reasons I'm here is I want to go and see Logan Paul. I hear he's training here at home, so I'm going to try and knock on the door tomorrow or Sunday and you know, and introduce myself. I don't know whether he'll know me or I'll know him, but we'll have a bit of fun. And look, it's what it is. It's entertainment, and I know for one thing is my kids will be tuning in.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I want to run a theory by you, because I believe, you know, Spence is a heavy favorite in this fight. I personally believe he's going to win this fight. And after that, I don't see a future fight for him in 147, because I don't think Pacquiao will fight him. I think he's going to have to move up. And I'm wondering if you think that 154, 160, Eddie has a lot of guys over there, a lot of guys, a lot of big name guys. Do you think that could be a possibility? And do you think we could see Errol on the zone maybe with against the Eddie fighter? Do you think that could happen?
Errol Spence is a big welterweight. You know, we saw that against Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia, you know, I've watched for a number of years, and one of my possibly favourite fighters out there, a sort of mixture of Barrera and Morales. I love the way he fights, and you know, I didn't agree with Dan Rafael, who said it was totally going to be totally uncompetitive. I thought, look, I believe that Garcia would really put up a good performance, and yeah, the weight was too much, but Errol was brilliant that night, and I think that he is one of the brilliant fighters we've got at the moment. I'd like to see him fight, obviously, tomorrow night I can't wait for, but I'd like to see him fight Terence Crawford if he comes through against Sean Porter in style. Is this a sort of stepping stone towards that? And they want to see Errol Spence and do a real job on Sean Porter, and that may push him at the bargaining table a little bit against Terence Crawford. Look, I really hope that fight happens. If not, yes, he might have to move up. I think he's got the size to do that, and I'd like to see him move through the weights. I think he's a brilliant fighter, Errol. Remember him from the amateurs very well, and what he did to Kell Brook was terrific away from home. And Kell was, despite the Golovkin fight, was in great form back at welterweight, and look, it was a big win for Errol, and he's gone on to strength, and I agree with you. I think he'll beat Sean Porter tomorrow night. I think it will be tough at times. I think he'll have to answer a few questions, but I think his sublime skills and his size and ability and a bit of youth on his side, I think he'll come through. But listen, I can't wait for it. It's a great card too. It's a brilliant card too. The super middleweights on display as well. Durrell and Benavidez. We just announced Callum Smith earlier today, returning in Liverpool on November 23rd. He's the best super middleweight in the world. He won the World Super Series. He's back. The dream is he fights at Anfield. I'm a big Liverpool fan. I'd love to see that happen. Maybe next spring, Liverpool win the title. Callum Smith fights there. So exciting times for the super middleweights.
And you obviously addressed the elephant in the room, which is Spence Crawford. And do you think we'll ever get to a space where just politics will just be kind of fused out of the sport? And also, do you feel that Eddie is doing a good job as far as multi-promotional efforts? Because you do see him collaborate probably more than other promoters.
Eddie's a brilliant promoter. We worked together since 2012, and between sort of Sky and Matchroom, we reinvented boxing in the UK. It was going through a difficult time. There was some big shows, but some leisure centre shows, and I think what we did was we chose Eddie as the guy to go with. We got less shows, we got bigger shows, so we stacked them out. But to bring Carl Froch and George Groves to Wembley Stadium was a real risk, and that came off. Then at the same sort of time, Mayweather Pacquiao was finally made. So that shows that even the great Jimmy Lennon and Michael Buffer can work together. HBO and Showtime. That crossed the political divide. I hope to see more of that going forward. I think the big fights are there to be made. You're right, Eddie has done a good job. He's got a lot on his plate. He's got a deal with DAZN. He's got our deal, which obviously we take very seriously. We want the best fights in the UK. We're picking the good fights up with our good relationship with DAZN. We're doing a bit of independent work as well, picking up what we can here too. That's really good, working with PBC on this one. So the boxing's in a fantastic place, but obviously fight fans want to see the best fight the best. Wilder did fight Fury, and then now we've got Wilder Ortiz again. You've got Fury and going through the motions a bit. That will happen again in the spring. AJ Ruiz, biggest heavyweight fight of the year, huge rematch for us. And then maybe 2020, all the big heavyweights can get together. And I think if that happens, then that's just a sort of, it makes a statement to the rest of the divisions that, come on, there's a lot of money to be made. TVs can work together, promoters can work together, and it's all for the good of the fight fans. But obviously, there's a lot of money in the sport, there's a lot of business, and there's a lot of different positions, so that has to be taken into account. But I don't doubt that a lot of the big fights will be made.
And that's a last one for you. That's a great lead-in as well. Cannot get you out of here without talking about AJ Ruiz. Do you feel that Joshua will make the appropriate adjustments in the rematch in terms of technique, fighting him from the outside, things like that? Do you think, what else do you think he might change, and how do you see this fight potentially going, and do you think Andy's ready as well?
Listen, they're really good questions, and I think we don't know the answers to them. I was as shocked as anyone by what happened in Madison Square Garden. Listen to the commentary back with Morley and Matt Macklin, and it was one of the biggest upsets I've ever seen in Sky Sports history, and certainly in the heavyweight division. I was around Lennox Lewis when he came back against Hasim Rahman. Sometimes immediate rematches go a completely different way. Sometimes they go exactly the same way. We've seen many situations like that. Tyson Holyfield, the second time, went even shorter, slightly very different, but Holyfield sort of had his number. Has Andy Ruiz got the hand speed to always give Anthony Joshua problems? A lot of people back home who think Ruiz has got a real good chance of doing it all over again. I think you're right. It's whether Anthony can sort of readjust. He's got the height and reach, he's got the skill set. If you can make it slightly simpler on the outside, if he listens to Rob McCracken, I don't know whether they're going to work on slightly different tactics this time. To me, it didn't look as though there was anything wrong beforehand. Maybe a bit of complacency looking towards the Wilder fight, but he looked sort of a little bit half asleep in the first round or two, and he went on the back foot. I saw him spar in Sheffield a lot in that camp, And then I saw him again in Miami, and look, you know, he was throwing uppercuts, he was showing body shots. He never did that against a smaller guy. He could get it right this time. He needs to get it right. In many ways, boxing needs for him to get it right, because there's a lot of big fights out there. But Andy Ruiz, listen, he's got a bigger training camp now. He did it with 5 weeks' notice last time. No reason he can't go and do it again. So that's the fascinating point of this fight. Plus, you add the spice in of it being in Saudi Arabia, you know, which is mad enough in itself. And, you know, you've got this big happening in the desert. How are they both going to adjust to it? What's the atmosphere going to be like over there? How are they going to actually get the job done? But the key factor in this fight is the fight itself. And the fact is, no one knows who's going to win.
I did actually want to ask you, because there has been some backlash here and on the other side of the pond where you are, just about the location. Is it a deterrent at all for fans or Sky Sports even?
We wanted the fight in Cardiff. I fought very hard to get it in Cardiff, but the money came in from Saudi Arabia. Anthony Joshua, you know, took the different situation. He's holidayed a lot out in the Middle East, and you know, he's done something different. It's a big challenge. It's a massive operation for us, huge operation. I went to Saudi Arabia. I had a lot of questions to ask. I've got a lot of great women on my team, for example. I want to make sure that they are treated exactly as they would be treated anywhere in the world, covering the fights, working as they do, because they're brilliant. And without them, I don't want to be part of this operation. I want my whole team to be really engaged. It's not a political thing, it's a sporting event. It's a sporting event. We followed Anthony Joshua since he turned professional. We've been at every single one of his fights. We're not stopping now. This is in many ways the most important fight. We had the great night against Vladimir Klitschko at Wembley. This is the one, this is the redemption night. We're going to be there, all of us, and I'm going to make sure that it is, you know, as big a Sky Sports sparkle as we can. But it's a difficult operation, it's a huge ask, a huge undertaking, but we want to make sure that it's sport that's being talked about, nothing else.
Very much appreciate your time. Enjoy the rest of your stay here in Los Angeles.
Will do. Cheers.